Hey guys, Yankee Prepper. Today I'm going to show you my Yankee famous Memphis wet ribs. I get these ribs from Sam's Club, about 21 bucks for 7 pounds, right around there, give or take a few ounces, and they're baby back ribs. And what you got to do is cut off all the fat. You don't want too much fat on there. Take off any big chunks of fat, prepare your meat, and take off the membrane on the back. Now usually you can stick a fork or even a temperature probe underneath there and then use a paper towel. I should have showed you how to do that, but I didn't. I just prepared them up. And just it's easier to grab it with a paper towel and then rip the membrane off. But take the membrane off the back and trim the meat up as best you can. 1 cup of apple cider or apple juice and 1 lemon. Take a big tray, baking sheet, pour that in there, and then juice your lemon. Alright, and ribs are all about patience, man. It's all about preparation and patience. Coat them up, fit them in there best you can, and then we're going to refrigerate those for about an hour, maybe two, an hour or two. Okay, this is our rub, and once the ribs come out of the fridge from soaking in the apple juice and lemon juice, we're going to rub this on and then refrigerate it again for a few hours. Lightly coat the back side of the ribs, the bone side. You don't have to put a lot of rub on this side. The bulk of the rub goes on the meat side. Once you've got the rub on, let that sit for another couple hours. I just put some foil on top of it, stick it in the refrigerator. I start this about 8 or 9 in the morning. I prefer the 100% natural hardwood charcoal. I buy this at Sam's Club for 14 bucks in a big bag. It's pretty cheap, lasts a long time, and it just really flavors the wood naturally and I believe much better. And I'm going to use cherry wood today that I get from scraps from my friends. I make my friends give me free stuff all the time, otherwise I threaten them with toilet papering their house. And in this case I'm going to use some cherry wood that was given to me. It takes experience to get to know how much charcoal to use to get the temperatures right. We're going to be cooking from 250 to 300 degrees and we want to keep that pretty steady. Even getting the wood to smolder right takes practice. So, you know, be prepared to fail, but don't give up. If you keep trying at this, you'll get it right, and it's a satisfying skill to have, is to be able to smoke meat. I like to sear the bone side just a little bit so it doesn't lose everything. It only takes about 3 to 5 minutes to do that. See? Okay, once you've seared the back and arranged them on there, then we're going to place our smoke wood on there. And we don't want this to catch on fire, we just want this to smolder, and that takes experience too, just like it'll take experience to feed the coals right to maintain your temperature. Keep I recommend that you keep your wood offset so it just kind of smolders, and arrange it so it doesn't catch on. I'll lay these out bone side. I will never, during this whole process, I will never flip them over on meat side. And it's going to take about 4 or 5 hours to cook these, slow and low temps. Now, I like to close, what works best for me anyway, I like to close the top vent totally and feed the fire from the 2 bottom vents so that the smoke kind of hangs in the top. And don't be afraid if it gets too hot. I'm maintaining it at 300 right now, just to open it up. You don't want to open it up unless you have to, but to get that temp down, don't be afraid to let the heat out just to get it back down. Now, I'm a purist in a lot of things that I do. You've probably seen that in my past videos. And I do not have a gas grill, and I will probably never own a gas grill. I can't think of a reason why I would want a gas grill. It's like decaffeinated coffee. I mean, what's the sense? Charcoal really adds to the flavor. I like the way it cooks, and I like the way it makes the meat taste. You don't need a lot of fancy equipment to smoke meat or make delicious baby back ribs, but you do need a lot of beer. That's the secret, because it takes a long time to cook them, so you need a lot to drink during that time to keep the motivation up. And I call these Yankees Memphis wet ribs because a lot of my recipes, a lot of my motivation comes from my travels. And I've been to Memphis a lot. I like Memphis. I like the culture in Memphis. I've driven the Natchez Trace up from New Orleans more than a handful of times, and I always stop in Memphis. I like the music. Been to Elvis's pad there. It's a great little city to visit, and it's got great rich culture and great food there. Although I do have to admit that my favorite rib restaurant of all times is Hecky's, which is in a little town just outside the border of Chicago in Evanston, Illinois. They have the best ribs that I've ever had. Just delicious. Okay, after the first 3 hours, then you want to start spraying them down with apple cider. You don't want to burn these. If it looks like they're going to burn at all, just cover them up with foil at this point. But every 20 or 30 minutes, spray them down with apple cider. Keep them moist, and that'll keep them sweet too. Man, that looks good. I could eat those right now. Now, my favorite sauce actually comes from a buddy of mine that's a Memphis restaurant owner. And I'm going to let him remain nameless, but I'm going to give you the recipe. The base is 2 cups of ketchup, half a cup of brown sugar, 1/4 cup of cider vinegar, 2 tablespoons of yellow mustard, 2 teaspoons of freshly ground black pepper, 2 teaspoons of kosher salt, 1 teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce, and 1 teaspoon of granulated garlic. We're also going to use the juice of a half a lemon, but we won't put that in until the last 5 minutes of the cooking process. Put all the ingredients in a small saucepan. Simmer it real slow for about 20 minutes. After 20 minutes of simmering, add your half a lemon. And then cook for 5 minutes more and put it off to the side. Get it off the heat. Okay, these have been cooking for 5 hours. So we're going to finish strawing here. I'm going to flip them over on each other and coat them with my wet sauce. So on the bottom first, coat them up, and then flip them over again, finish out the top. Get them coated up real nice. Now I've only used a handful, maybe 3 or 4 pieces of cherry wood the entire time. I finished, or I should say I started out at between 250 and 300 for the first 3 hours, and then probably for the last 2 hours I've been 200 to 250 degrees. So, you know, starting out a little hotter, finishing up nice and slow to slow cook these babies. Now I'm going to put these on for 1/2 hour more. That's what my coals look like at this point. Nice and smoky, still hot, 200, 225 degrees, and we'll finish these out for 30 more minutes. After almost 6 hours of cooking, our ribs are ready. Ribs do take a little bit of effort. Good smoked ribs anyway, slow cooked. But like most good things in the universe, it's worth it. That is a righteous law. Take them in and let them sit for a little bit. This is where it all pays off.
Delicious.
That is really good. Homemade slaw. Smoky ribs.
It's about like the best meat I ever had.
Thank you. Okay. Got to drop off some watermelon here, especially after ribs, huh?
It's delicious.